This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in to the Thursday show. We were not here last week, so you were deprived your weekly dose of Pierre Noujaim of Fox 9, Minneapolis. And the people were furious with me. I was at the Gaylord Texan just, chilling out, enjoying my day. And people were like, hey, where's Pierre?
That's pretty much what I was expecting to hear on a Thanksgiving day. Everybody was like, forget the turkey, forget the family, forget the football. Where's Pierre? Where's my dose of it? Yeah, that's what they wanted.
Yeah, we're not watching what most of America is. We've decided to tune in to this very specific YouTube channel. And Pierre, before we get going, I have some breaking Baylor news off the top. Baylor is going to hire Jake Spavital as their next offensive coordinator. He was at Texas A&M. He's been at West Virginia, Cal. He was the head coach at Texas State. And he's been at Cal 2 different stints, but he is on his way to Baylor to replace Jeff Grimes. There might be other offensive staff things. And I'm doing it this way. Look, I don't break news, and I didn't break this story. Smokey and Colt from our site broke it. So they've broken it. But 2 days ago, every day on the main show, Pierre, I do Paul Catalina's Top 5. It's at the end of the show, and there's a list of different things. I'm sure, as a fan of me, you've tuned into many of them.
Many.
So you don't have to pretend. But
I am a big fan of you, though. Do not get that crossed up.
No, but so I did a list of top 5 Baylor OC candidates, and the only kind of, hint I would have gotten through the grapevine at all was that they maybe were looking for somebody with head coaching experience because Dave Aranda is going to call the defensive plays, so he'll need somebody who can kind of run the offensive side like a head coach would because he will be spending more time in the defensive meeting rooms than the offensive meeting rooms. So that was the only hint I got. Number 5 on that list was Jake Spavital. And I did that.
Right?
Yes. And I do these things. Very rarely do I do them on inside information. It is research and trying to mix and match things, or just kind of sometimes it's just opinion. Today's is on transfer quarterbacks, of which I wish I had known about the latest one going into the portal that just happened 10 minutes ago. I would have put him on this list, although his is kind of obvious where he's going to go, and we'll talk about that in a second. But on our website, Sikkim365.com, very rarely do they put one of my top 5s in a message board thing and go because they're not often about Baylor. But they did put it in there, and Smokey called my attention to it. Now, not to besmirch what we do and our company, but I'm not a message board guy. I never have been. I never will be. But Smokey called my attention to it, so my curiosity was piqued, Pierre, to see what people thought of it. And to say that they were unhappy with my choices and many of them had things to say. I mean, literally, it was, I felt like I was getting tomatoes thrown at me, like in the old time, like in vaudeville. That's what it was. And so when I was alerted to the news a second ago, Garrett, can you describe the touchdown dance and celebration and taunting I did to those people on the message board while editing for a PG-13 audience?
I mean, it was like Florida State had won the Natty. That's the only thing I can think of. Just dancing like Florida State had won the Natty all over again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because, again, these people, kind of called me out. And I'm like, look, man, I didn't do this from any inside information at all. I did this from my brain. All right.
Correct. That's a little connecting of the dots. How do you like that?
Yeah. So, I just feel again, starting this show today, I feel as fired up as I've maybe ever have in a positive way. And it's because I'm able to chew on the bones of my enemies.
Yes. Oh, that I wish nothing more for you than to be able to do that on a daily basis. Just sucking the marrow of life out of them,
right
one
there.
bite at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I have a friend here who said that when he dies, he wants to have his ashes spread, but not in the conventional way. He wants to give everybody a little bag of them with a name of a person he doesn't like and to go throw them at him.
I like that. I like that very much. Actually, when you were just talking about having tomatoes thrown at your face, I actually was cutting a rather large tomato last night and was amazed actually at the crispness of it. Normally, I thought it'd be a little bit softer. So I was like, if you get a tomato just hawked at your face, I think it's going to hurt a little bit more than I originally thought.
Yeah, I think so. So Pierre, how was your Thanksgiving? I'm sure you had to work a little bit.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I did not. I was off on Thanksgiving. It was a great day. I watched Geno Smith completely wreck my fantasy team. And before anybody asks, why is Geno Smith even on your fantasy team? It's a 2-quarterback league, so the options are limited. Mm-hmm. So, but outside of that, couldn't have been better, my friend. Could not have been better. It was terrific.
Good deal. Well, I certainly always miss talking to you when I get the chance to.
Yeah.
Pick'em has not gone your way. It did not go your way last week, and I'll tell you that. Like, people haven't seen it in 2 weeks, but I just did the math, and not that you've really come back to the pack. You could have afforded a couple of bad weeks, but I'm not so far behind you anymore that bowl season won't help me make it up.
I'm glad that you brought this up because I was thinking about this today, and I honestly do not remember. The only pick that I remember making was Michigan.
Yeah.
And after that, I don't remember who I picked. Oh, you know what? I think I lost the North Carolina game.
You lost North Carolina and Kansas State.
Okay, so 3-2 is not bad.
No. But that's a terrible week for you.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say, did Jack catch up to me yet?
No, Jack also Jack is 4-1 the last 2 weeks, so he needed to be 5-0 to catch you, and now he's a little bit further behind. Like he's within shouting distance, but
yeah,
but it's about the same.
Jack's been breathing down my neck the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. So the worst news of it all is for Levi, who is now tied with Garrett, because Garrett has had two good weeks in a row, going 9-1 in the last 2 weeks. Like I have gone 9-1 in the last 2 weeks. So
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I love that for Garrett, by the way.
Yeah.
That's great.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, Pierre, we've got championship week. We've got the transfer portal. We've got the coaching carousel. You're in the heart of Big Ten country, and we'll talk about this. Jonathan Smith, the new head coach, all 3 quarterbacks left, which one of them was, I'm not even going to talk to him because he didn't recruit me when I was, living in the state he was coaching in. So I'm not doing that. Then the other 2 left because I think they were told, like, like there's those meetings that happen, and now they have the transfer portal. I think the dirty little secret is people always thought that, like, you couldn't get, like, you got a 4-year scholarship, so, like, you'd only get cut from the team if you broke the rules or if you got injured beyond, ability to play anymore. But they're really 4 1-year deals. And the schools got to do that, but the players didn't. So that's where the transfer portal has kind of balanced this out a little bit more. But now with the portal, when a new coach comes in, like people saw Deion Sanders last year very famously walk in that meeting room and said, "I'm bringing my own bags and they're Louis."
Yeah.
And look, let's face it, he brought a couple of Louis bags and the rest were Samsonites.
That's correct. Yes, well said.
At 4-8, but that's his intent, is to do that. And so he told them, like, look, you got to get in the portal. Like, we're going to have meetings with all of you, and you're going to wind up in the portal. And so that happens a lot when a new coach comes in. You come in and you're like, well, look, we're going to probably bring in our own guy. And to that end, DJ Uiagalelei is now in the portal looking for his third school, which I would not be surprised if he's listed himself as do not contact, meaning he's already decided where he wants to go, and that's probably going to be Michigan State. Yeah. I would think so.
Yeah. That would seem to be the logical. Yeah, you would think that a quarterback who had a pretty darn good year at Oregon State would want to follow the head coach to wherever he's going. That, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. I'm still getting used to all this. I don't know about you. I'm still getting used to this and seeing guys. But the one thing that I will definitely still, pound the table for is what happened to good old competition, Paul? What happened to athletes who actually want to stare you in the eye and say, I'm better than you and I'm going to prove it, instead of just running to the next opportunity to where you think you might be able to get immediate playing time? I get it. Like, I get the logic behind it, but there's something about that still just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah. I get it. Like, it's one of those things. If you're a quarterback and you're the same year or a year behind a guy who has 2 years to play, then you kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have to.
I get it.
But if you are, to me, if you're a skill player in particular, of where you can be on the field at any time.
Yeah.
And you're transferring because you're the 7th wide receiver, I get it. If you're transferring because you might be the 3rd wide receiver on a great team, like, you got to grow up. Like, don't leave Alabama because you're the 3rd wide receiver on that team and you'll be the first one at Mississippi State. Like, go ahead and, like, play for your national title. Like, get what you've earned. Enjoy the fact that you're going to be wide open because the other 2 dudes are probably first-round draft picks too. So those are the ones that bother me. Like, I get, like, you have to find the place, and if you want to play, especially if your intent is to play professionally, you want to log as many plays as you can. But the one thing I don't get is, okay, I came into the true freshman. The quarterback here is a junior. You should expect, if he's a junior, that he should play his junior and senior year. Like, that's what you should expect. Not that he's going to be so good he's going to leave, because you don't know what's going to happen. So if you're a true freshman and then you transfer after redshirting, to me, that's just weak, right?
It's funny. It's funny because, at the University of Minnesota, the school that I cover, the running back situation, whether it was injury or whether it was one guy having fumbling issues, they used 5 running backs this year. 5. And 2 different ones got Big Ten Freshman of the Week honors. Like, it didn't matter who it was, with the exception of one guy. They would plug them in, and they would play, and they used every single one of them. And that's why I'm sitting here thinking, like, you never know when your opportunity is going to come. But when you're talking specifically a quarterback, yes, I would agree. If you had the choice between being seen on national television, showcasing your skills for, whatever school, as opposed to, like, sitting on the bench for 2 more years, I get it. I'm not going to begrudge you for that. Like, I get everybody's going to want their opportunity.
I'll give you an example. Malik Murphy at Texas played 3 games this year, started for Texas when Quinn Ewers was out. Arch Manning is behind him.
Yep.
Quinn Ewers is likely coming back.
Yeah.
If you're Malik Murphy, you're probably got to go. Like, because you can start right now. And next year you'll be a redshirt sophomore, which is the first year of your being draft eligible. So you probably got to go.
I'm smiling. I'm only smiling because he was the first guy I thought of when Minnesota quarterback Ethan Kaliakmanis announced his intention to enter the transfer portal. Malik Murphy was the first guy I thought of. I said, you look pretty good in maroon up here, Malik. Why don't you consider coming up to the frozen tundra?
I'll tell you a guy who may or may not want to go all the way up there, but Baylor's quarterback Blake Shapen is in the portal, and he played in the wide zone, so he knows kind of a power offense. Minnesota classically has a good offensive line. I know that this year was maybe not their best year, but I think that's not one thing that was really the problem.
It wasn't their best year, but from what we thought this unit was going to be at the beginning of the year to where they ended up, it was a way better than I ever thought it would be. It was a very, very, very decent offensive line. So they do consistently have very good offensive line play. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you wind up with Blake, like Blake Shapen's kind of done all he can here. Like, it's best for both sides that he goes, I think, somewhere. Yeah. But Minnesota is the kind of school that I think would benefit from him, and he could benefit from them. And that
I think that'd be an interesting fit.
He's not going to be thrown in the wood chipper like he was behind the offensive line at Baylor this year. And it's not going to be like nobody in Minnesota is going to be like, oh, he's the savior. It's just going to be like, oh, well, he can come and play here, and that'll be good. So
that's pretty much the exact reaction would be like, oh, okay, well, he's what school in Texas? Oh, Texas. Oh, he's got to be pretty good. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be great. Yeah,
absolutely. So, what are your thoughts? By the way, we mentioned Jonathan Smith getting that job at Michigan State. I think I mean, if you want to tell, like, there's only been a few hires made. You know, I know that Indiana did just hire Kurt Cignetti from James Madison, which is a really good hire. But I do think that the top two hires are Mike Elko at A&M and Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. And I think, I mean, not to knock Mike Elko, I think he's going to do a fantastic job there. But Jonathan Smith is the best hire that would have happened in this cycle for whoever hired him, and especially for Michigan State, who needed a good hire badly.
Yeah, I think Michigan State did a pretty darn good job of getting the guy that they wanted. I think Michigan State is going to be happy with the results in the next 2-3 years when he really gets his hands on that program and gets to do what he does best. So I think Michigan State did well. To be honest with you, Paul, I don't mind I'm a little bit caught with Texas A&M specifically because you spend so much money to get rid of Jimbo Fisher that you would have. And my thought process is, you know, no disrespect to Coach Elko, but it's like you spend so much money to get rid of Jimbo Fisher, and Mike Elko is it almost feels underwhelming in a sense. And that's, again, not to take anything away from him.
I think it had to be underwhelming, honestly. Like, it had to be, like, A&M needs to do something that is disgustingly practical.
I thought I would have wanted, well, I should say not me personally, but I thought when it looked like it was going to be Mark Stoops, in my mind, I said, I think that's going to be a great hire.
I thought so too.
I thought that's going to be a home run hire for Texas A&M. And when it ended up not being Mark Stoops, I think I'm only feeling this way just because of how everything played out. Yeah. That's why.
But I think from what I'm to understand, I don't know if Mark Stoops was really ever in the water or if Jimmy Sexton, his agent, put him in the water and told him and threw that out there and let it slip because he got because it was right after they beat their biggest in-state rival in a game and A&M was out there and reportedly interested in him. So what better way to make sure that your school, you know, throws you a couple extra mil than to capitalize on the emotions of, oh my God, we beat Louisville. Oh no, the coach is leaving. Better give him some money. Okay, he loves it here. Like, those are the things that might have happened with Mark Stoops. Mike Elko, though, and Mark Stoops the same thing. Those would have been extremely practical hires. It's not like they're not, you know, Jimbo Fisher was a big fish. And that's what, Scott Woodward was the AD when he hired him. If you look at what he's done at LSU since then, he has hired big fish after big fish when it comes to jobs. You know, and he's had to fill football, women's basketball, men's basketball, and baseball, right, Garrett?
Yeah, and baseball.
And baseball. And all those jobs, he did not go for someone that you were like, who's this guy now? Like, oh, he's got a good little resume. That's clever. That's crafty. Like, Scott Woodward, I mean, for women's basketball, he hired Kim Mulkey. 3 national titles, he hired Kim Mulkey. You and I know her well.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Miss covering her, in fact. She was always one of my favorites. Yeah.
I don't.
She was always one of my favorites because she always kept it real with us. I mean, I appreciated the candor. That's what I
always did appreciate the candor, but it got a little tiring. I can
understand.
Yeah,
I can understand,
especially when you weren't the national championship winner in the basketball department that year.
Yeah,
and you just got mad and left. So
I will say the thing that, you know, and I know we're getting off track here, but the thing that I will say about her that always annoyed the ever living crap out of me was when we'd be in a press conference and she would say, "This is what you should be writing. You should put this." I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. That's not really how it works, Kim.
Yeah, absolutely. So, they, I'll tell you. I mean, there were times where it was really fun, and you know, but there were times. You didn't go to Bowling Green, did you?
No. I went to. I mean, we went to Oklahoma City a couple times. We went to Dallas. We went to. I can't remember where else we went to, but no, I didn't go to Bowling Green.
There were a group of media that we all bonded for having to go cover, and that was the best team she had. Was the Brittany Griner 40-0 team that we covered them in Bowling Green, Ohio. I think Nick might have been there.
That was the year I got there. I got there just at the beginning of that basketball. It was in November of 2011.
Yeah, so Nick Canizales would have been would have been on that trip probably.
That would have been Tyler.
Oh, Tyler.
Tyler was on that trip.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So Tyler would have been on that trip. And I'll tell you, I've already ragged on it on the show before, but Bowling Green University is the only place that's thrilled to go on the road for games.
I bet.
Just please. I mean, that's me. I was there for 4 days having to cover 2 women's basketball games that were not going to be close. Like it was not going to it was not like later on as they got in the tournament, although none of them were really close, but those 2 games in particular, they played and Jerry Hill and I did not get there until the middle of the first half of the first game because we were flying from Albuquerque.
Oh my gosh!
Because that's where the men were, and so we flew there.
Yeah,
we flew there. So we went from Albuquerque to Toledo, then got in the rental car and drove to Bowling Green. And we got there. When I got to the first game, it was 44-8, and they hadn't hit the under 8 timeout yet.
Oh my God!
So they had to they were still 2 TV timeouts away from being at halftime. And that's what the score was. And so I was like,
good God.
Yeah. I sat down and, golly, I can't remember who it was sitting next to me. It was it was a pretty prominent ESPN it wasn't Rebecca Lobo. It was one of the main ESPN people from the women's basketball broadcasters in the seat right next to me. And Bowling Green's gym is very, very small.
Okay.
It's very small. So I had really great seats on media row. And so I turned to her and oh, what'd I miss?
Not much of anything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then they played Florida in the next one and beat them badly, which anytime the Gators lose and Angel gets his wings.
I was just about to say, yes.
Yeah. So I didn't mind that at all. And I will tell you this story, and this will kind of wrap up the first segment of Small Talk because we've got to get to talking old CFP and this weekend. But Florida had their post player was a girl from England who was really good. And they asked her in the press conference, is this a different challenge playing against somebody like Brittany Griner, who's so unique and talented and skilled and tough? And she's like, oh no, I've played many good players internationally, and she's really no different than them. And I was all of us were like, oh girl.
Oh boy.
Man, that was not good.
No.
And here's the thing. She said it the last question of the press conference as Brittany was walking in to do theirs. So Brittany heard, nobody even had to act, it never had to be bulletin boarded to her. It was just oh, I heard that.
Just served right on a platter right
there. So you know what happened? Less than a minute into that game, Brittany Griner dunked on her.
You don't say.
Yeah.
You don't say.
Yeah.
I mean, of all the things to say, I'm just shaking my head at the lack of awareness of the situation.
And I would like to think that Brittany said, "You don't see that in Sussex, do you, girl?" Bam.
Yeah, exactly. Tea and here's your crumpets right in your eye hole.
Bam.
Yeah, exactly.
It was one of the coolest sports moments I've ever seen in my life.
I bet.
It was because, again, not many girls dunk, one, and two, not many do it because they're enraged.
we could do a whole separate show on the Louisville game from the year after.
Oh yeah, we were there.
We were there, and I remember being courtside for that game. And oh my gosh, we could do a whole show on that game alone. And how wild that was. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, when we come back, we'll jump back into college football and the College Football Playoff Committee and championship weekend and how wild this could get. Although it could be very boring. It could be one of two extremes. Totally chalk and totally expected and totally boring, or absolute, utter chaos and anger. That's what could happen. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Pierre Noujaim, Fox 9 Minneapolis. And Pierre, you'll have to text me when you get around to the amazing race from last night.
I did not actually, it took me almost a full week to catch up to the one from the previous week. So, I will. I
was
take care of that
just to say happy that the team that got eliminated.
Okay.
I enjoy their story, except they were not fun to watch.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a feeling. I have a feeling I might know which. I think I know which team you're talking about, but now that I think about it, I'm like, that could go for like 3 or 4 of the teams left.
Not this week. The one last week, Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
The two ladies.
Yes.
They had a nice story of how they've kind of persevered through some personal trauma.
Yes.
But
correct.
They were not they were kind of exhausting to watch.
I agree entirely with that assessment. And we felt the same way when I saw them get eliminated. I was just like, I'm glad that you persevered through the hardships, but not really going to miss you that much.
You remember when D'Angelo Williams was on the show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
I was kind of rooting for him until his very end, and he was like, "I hate the show. I'm never coming back." I was like, "Well, now I'm glad you lost."
Not only that, but he went on. I saw him go on an ESPN interview to talk about the show specifically, and he just reiterated how much he would never do the show again and how much he hated it. And I was just like, "What is your problem? Are you kidding me? This is an awesome opportunity. Are you mad because you're not getting jet flight like the first class hotels that you're used to with the Carolina Panthers? Come on, man. Come on.
I also think that they stay in pretty nice hotels when they're
they have. I mean, back in the day when the show used to.
Sometimes they stay in like a camper or something as like a.
I think the show has gotten soft over the years. Remember, sometimes they'd make them sleep on the street in India just to wait to get a train ticket the next morning.
Well, I think they haven't done that in a couple years, but they needed it. But I'll tell you, this year I'm Team Rob and Corey. That's who I want to win.
I like them.
Yeah,
yes,
I like them. I'm fine. I'll just tell you, after this week, I'm fine with anyone who's left.
Okay,
winning it.
Good enough for me.
I'm good. I'm fine with anyone who's left. So
I'm good. I'm good with that. I think all the teams that I didn't have a very good affinity for have already been gone by now.
There's only one team that's ever won that I absolutely did not want to win, and that was the Holdernesses. And that's because I don't respect what they do.
Which one was that one?
That was a couple years ago. They're the ones who they do the music videos of the family.
Oh yeah. No, it was not. I'm with you 100%. There have been a few teams. There's been more than one for me where I'm like, meh. But at the same time too, it's like, that they were the worst.
Yeah,
100%.
I don't like. And the thing is, I didn't like them coming in.
No,
I didn't I'd grown tired of what they were. I think of them and I think of Adam Scott's family from Step Brothers. That's why.
Yes.
So
100% singing in the car on the way to the dinner. Yes. Oh my God.
$3,000 a week voice lessons. Come on.
Yeah. This is all I get.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna watch that scene specifically when we're done here.
Watch that and then watch one of their videos and tell me that's not the dynamic that's going on behind the scenes there.
Well, you got it. I will report back.
Exactly.
I will report back.
Okay.
Yeah.
This week is conference championship week. There are not Alabama and Georgia. It's only a surprise in that Alabama didn't look that great to start the year, but they've played well lately. Michigan and Iowa was always going to be Iowa and probably somebody else. And that one, Michigan is 23.5-point favorites. And if Kirk Ferrett's, sells his soul to the devil at the crossroads, maybe they'll win that game 6-5. And then he'll stand to the microphone and go, "This is my opus," and then just evaporate into the ether. But
I'm looking at my phone right now because I want to check the actual updated line. Is it still 23.5?
It was 23.5 this morning.
Okay. It probably still is 23.5. Yeah. I'm gonna actually, I see. Actually, you know what? It has come down on one website that I'm looking at, and I'm gonna bet that immediately. I can tell you that right now.
So yeah, and I'll still bang the under because Michigan's gonna have a hard time doing what they normally do. But there's the under when Michigan plays is not like when it's Iowa and Minnesota, or what was Iowa and Nebraska was. I guess it was exciting if you had a dog in the hunt, but if you were just watching it between day after Thanksgiving outings, it was like, are the Dolphins on yet? Like, that's what I kept thinking.
And then once you realize they were playing the Jets and you realize how that whole thing played out too, you're kind of like, I guess.
I mean, you're a Dolphins fan, you probably loved it, but yeah.
Oh, I loved every minute of it. You know how I feel about the New York Jets, so you know I loved absolutely every single second of that game.
But yeah,
except for the part where Jalen Phillips got hurt. That sucked. Yeah. But outside of that,
but no, look, nobody experienced as much pain in the last 2 weeks as I have. It's like, that's not even. Let's
my
not.
Condolences. Yes.
Let's
yes.
not.
Yes.
We'll get like that's the game that's going to affect this the most. Is Florida State and Louisville, because even though I think Alabama and the Jalen Miller is kind of a nightmare for everybody right now because he's really in his bag, like he's just rolling along. Georgia's just really, really good, and I'm not totally sure that Alabama can make the mistakes that they've made against everybody else all year and beat Georgia. Like that's kind of like, Garrett, are you with me? Like,
yes,
Alabama's playing really good, but they're playing really good. It's like the SEC West was not the best this year. It's probably the worst year of the SEC West in a long time, and Alabama was able to get by, and they've not really corrected any of the little things they do wrong. The only thing that's different, I think, from early in the season now is Jalen Milroe's not afraid of his own shadow anymore.
Well, that, and I think the competition of defenses they face. Like, I don't think they've really faced anybody that's pushed them defensively except for Texas.
Yeah.
And when you go up against Georgia, I think that's what's going to be the difference. And it's to a point now where even like a couple of years ago, I think you could say that if it got down to coaching, Bama would have the edge with Nick Saban over Kirby. But I think Kirby, that torch has kind of been passed, and I don't know if that you can even make that argument anymore.
Yeah, that's true. So that one, like Michigan and Iowa will only affect this, like I said, if demons are involved. If sorcery and whatever else. If there's some sort of Macbeth-style agreement at the beginning of the game that Kirk Ferentz made, I don't know. But Florida State and Louisville will definitely affect this. And not to knock Texas and Oklahoma State fans, I think Oklahoma State, if they play their perfect game, can win this thing. It's just what they do and what Texas is good at is a terrible matchup. Ollie Gordon versus that defensive line is just a bad matchup for Oklahoma State. You're going to have to rely on Alan Bowman to do something he hasn't really done all that much, even though he's played pretty well this year. But Florida State and Louisville is the game that could affect it because Louisville's played really well. Now they're coming off a big upset loss, and they missed their shot. However, outside at the college football playoff, that's over. Now they can only keep their conference out of it and win a conference title in the ACC in football, which would be for the first time. But and this might be my rosy fan glasses on, I think Tate Rodemaker will play much better against Louisville, even though Louisville's defense is better than Florida's. He'll play much better against Louisville because Louisville is not Florida. Because that game has so like, if you're a school that has a rival, I will just tell you that the only games that I can think that have as much weight as Florida State does, because in the 90s, the national championship was determined by the winner. Like whoever won that was playing in the national title game more than likely. So because of that history, it's really like Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Texas are the only ones, and every other rivalry is great. Like you got to see Florida of Rosedale every year. Great rivalry. Really intense. Everybody cares. Right. But take Florida-Rosedale and put like actual stakes on it. Yes. And that's what the Florida State rivalry is, and that's what that game meant for, especially if one of the teams in it has actual stakes. Even if the other one doesn't, the chance to play spoiler, like it is heavy. Same with Florida State and Miami, so you can kind of throw some of the stuff out the window because if you know a game where everybody's going to be on their P's and Q's, it is that one. There are very few blowouts in the game. They're like nobody really runs away with it. When there are, it's just such a far outlier that people don't even remember it. Like, you'd have to be a deep fan to be like, oh, you remember in 2002 when this happened? And you're like, oh, yeah, that was weird, huh? Because the games you remember are the tight ones. I think Tate Rodemaker will play better, and hopefully better is enough against Louisville because it is not Florida.
So are we getting into who we think is going to get in? Or are we talking about who we want to see get in?
I want to know who you want to see get in.
So here's who I want to see get in. To be honest with you, I think I probably already know like three of the teams that are. It probably seems like it's likely like three of these teams are going to get in. I kind of want to see Oregon get in.
Yeah,
I want to. I don't think even if Oregon beats Washington, which I think they will for the record. Even if Oregon beats Washington, I'm not 100% convinced that they are going to get in regardless. But if Alabama somehow beats Georgia, then that's a really curious situation because you're looking at Washington or you're looking at Oregon with their one loss to Washington. You're looking at Alabama, their one loss to Texas, and we're talking about who's more deserving of getting in and who. So. Personally, I would like to see Oregon sneak it in there as probably the number 4 team because I think they're just a fun team to watch. And I would like to see Bo Nix. Personally, I would like to see Bo Nix on a national stage to see how he embraces the moment. So that's my own personal one. Outside of that, I mean, my expectation is it's going to be Michigan and Georgia and, could it be Florida State?
Do you think this? Do you think the committee has the stones to have Florida State win the game like they did last week, like a game like they did last week against Louisville, and be undefeated, but without Jordan Travis and clearly very different, and skip them for Texas?
That's I think to be honest with you, I think they would do it. I would lean if that is the choice you were presenting to me and what I think the committee will do, I think they would do it. I think they would pull the trigger and have Texas in to the Final Four because you're right. I mean, without Jordan Travis, it does. Let's be honest. Even though it's not fair, the committee. I don't know. I would love to have a member of the committee on because I would love to pick their brain in terms of what they believe would make the best entertainment because this is you have to pick the Final Four teams that would make the best TV, maybe the most compelling storyline. Does Florida State without Jordan Travis present that?
Compelling though, right?
I agree. I agree.
And look, I think this: if Florida State loses, they really don't have a leg to stand on.
No, none.
They don't have a leg to stand on. I don't think if you don't win your conference, you should get in this year. Like last year, TCU, they didn't win, but I thought they should be in because everybody else behind them also didn't have that on their resume, right?
Sure.
So like it was, you got to put TCU in because the way that this fell was this certain way, right? And
there was a level of vindication to that when they beat Michigan. Of course, we all know what happened in the title game, but I mean there was a level of vindication to that when they beat Michigan.
Georgia might have done something similar to Michigan. Like they were that good. Like maybe it wasn't going to be 65-7, but it might have been really bad. And then your argument would have been moot either way because Tim Brando was on our show yesterday, and he's on our show all the time. Love having Brando on.
He's great.
Yeah. So Brando said this, and he said a lot of people, analysts, kind of push these narratives because they don't want to watch other teams. So they're just like, they've picked, these are the teams they want to watch. And so if you're not in that little group, then it's not interesting to them. So that's why like the TCU narrative popped up last year was like, oh, well, we told you. Like, well, they did beat Michigan, man. I mean, like, let's see here. Look, and sometimes they just can't admit like that Georgia team was just such a juggernaut. Like they would have beaten like 2022 Georgia is up there to me with 2005 Texas, 2019 LSU, and, 2013 FSU, like, of the teams that are just so stacked with dudes that.
Right. Yes.
And 2013 FSU, because of poor coaching, did not blow out Auburn in the championship game, but they blew out everybody else that they played. But they had just dudes. Like, that roster was just loaded with guys. I'd put them at the bottom of this. But, 95 Nebraska, like, those teams that would – it did not matter. 01 Miami. 01 Miami would beat maybe any team. I think 19 LSU – is the team defense, I think could kind of hang with 01 Miami, but 01 Miami
they were so deep.
I mean, they have backups in 01 that are going to be Hall of Famers.
That team could beat the Jets now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of who it was. Andre Johnson was not the number one wide receiver on 01 Miami. Right. He was on that team, but he wasn't the number one receiver yet. They had like those dudes there. Or like guys who were like Santana Moss. It's like multi-year, Pro Bowler, not a Hall of Famer, but still when he was in the league was just dirty. Like Kellen Winslow.
Jeremy Shockey. Was Ed Reed still on that team? Ed Reed was on that team, wasn't he?
Yeah. Sean Taylor was on that team.
Yeah, Sean Taylor was on that team. Yes, that's right. Yes.
So like they're just dudes. So sometimes you just have to be like, look, it's rough that you had to run up against that team. There's not a team in college football that's like that this year. There's not that team that, their opponents are going to wake up in the middle and go, no, Tommy Frazier. God. Oh, God.
Yeah. I think personally, and I agree with you on that completely. Personally, in my opinion, I think Michigan is the best team. I think not by some grossly wide margin, but I do, from my eyeballs tell me Michigan is that team this year, and I think that the college football playoff kind of is saying it's theirs to lose. I know it kind of sounds extreme, but I have a hard time seeing which team is going to beat Michigan moving forward this year.
Yeah, I do too. Like they're really good. I mean, they're set up well. I am curious to see what happens with Michigan though when they play stud wide receivers and running backs.
Yeah, fair.
Because Ohio State hung with them, and Ohio State's problem was the quarterback. Honestly, Kyle McCord is good, but he's not great. He's fine, but he's not like. If C.J. Stroud was playing on that Ohio State team, Michigan probably loses. So if they do play, if Michigan plays Bo Nix or Quinn Ewers and or even Michael Penix, like if they play those guys, Carson Beck, like I don't know, we'll see. It's going to be a lot different.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be a lot different. All right, we've got to tear down the studio, put the lav mic on, and do our picks. That's coming up next. This is 365 Sports.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected. Get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
It's another time to speak with Samantha Duvall from TexasBeefHouse.com, handles the marketing and someone that you will talk to a lot when you do call for the great product of the Texas-raised Wagyu beef. It's college football season, tailgating, it's a big deal. People love to put beef and pork and chicken, etc. on the grill. Let me know what you have.
We've got everything. If you've got a morning game, you can get our breakfast sausage or our bacon. You can tailgate with some breakfast tacos. If you've got an afternoon or evening game, we of course got our hamburger patties. They're half-pound patties, 4 patties to a package, and we even have jalapeno and cheese patties. They're amazing. They'll blow your mind. Just that extra flavor, not too spicy. They have a high-heat cheese so they don't melt on the grill, and our patties don't shrink up on the grill either. Anytime you order, use our code STICK'EM10 to get 10% off your order of $100 or more.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu from our pasture to your plate. That's Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back to the Triple Option. Paul Catalina, Pierre Noujaim, Garrett Ross, and Jack McKenzie. You'll hear Jack shouting out things from the back of the room as we make picks here. Okay, Pierre, you are at 48-17. A solid 12 games in front of me.
Okay.
Still 2 games in front of Jack.
Okay.
15 games in front of Garrett, and now 16 games in front of Levi, who has fallen to the back of the pack and is below 500 at 32-33 after a couple of bad weeks. We'll start out. Hold on, I got to get my phone because Levi's picture on here. All right, out of frame for a second. Sorry, Garrett, you told me not to do that. Yeah, so, all right, so let's find Levi's text. All right, we'll start with Oregon and Washington. Levi is taking Oregon. Eventually, Levi is taking Oregon. There he is. Okay. Levi's taking Oregon. Garrett, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to ride with the Ducks as well. Okay. I think they should have won that first game. I know there was some talk about Dan Lanning's decisions to go for it on 4th down, but I still stand by that.
All right, Jack, who you got?
Whoever Pierre doesn't.
Okay. Pierre, who you got?
I mentioned in the previous segment, I'm taking Oregon. I think Oregon's going to win it.
All right, Jack's going for the Huskies. Woof, 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 woof instead of quack, quack, quack. So Jack has picked the Huskies. I'm going Oregon in this one. I think that they've played better down the stretch. They have that game was really strange, right? I mean, it came down to some 4th down calls that were made by Dan Lanning. They didn't work out the way he wanted them to, mostly because the play calls were not great. I think that changes this time around. I've got the Ducks. Oklahoma State and Texas. I'll keep this one short and sweet because it's hard for me to wax rhapsodic about the Texas Longhorns, but their defense is too good, and as good as Ollie Gordon has been, he's running to the teeth of Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. I gotta go with the Horns here.
Hook 'em. I'm going with you.
Yeah. All right. Jack, who you got?
Horns.
What?
Horns.
Oh, he's got the Horns. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Garrett?
Yeah, hook 'em.
Okay. Let's go. Come on. Are my fingers greasy or something?
I don't know.
There we go. It's been a struggle today. And Levi also picked the Horns. So, there we go. All right. Levi has picked, as most people probably will, he's gone Uga here. So we'll put Uga in for him. Garrett, who you got?
Yeah, give me Georgia in this one.
Yeah. All righty. Jack.
Georgia.
Jack's going Georgia. Okay, Pierre.
Part of me is thinking that I should, be sporting with Jack here, but maybe not on this game. I'm gonna take Georgia.
Okay, he's gonna take Georgia. All right, I'm also gonna take Georgia. I don't think Alabama can play as sloppy as they have all year long and beat Georgia. I think that it's the penalties, it's those kind of things that they normally don't do that's gotten this team in trouble. So I'm gonna go with them. All right, let's just take a survey right now.
Okay.
And we'll skip through the rigmarole of all this. I probably should have picked a different championship game, but we're doing the P5 because they all affect the playoff. Does anyone in this room smoke crack?
No.
Okay. Okay. So since that's the case, I'm just going to go ahead and put Michigan on.
I think Paul, I think the game should be, does anyone think Iowa's going to score more than 3?
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not doing that to Levi. Yes. So, yes, everybody has Michigan, although I almost screwed Levi there. All right, yes. And even though Levi's not in the room, I can tell you from his general demeanor that crack is not a part of his life.
No, not at all. Crack free for Levi.
He is not energetic enough, or he doesn't come in and say crazy enough things for me to think that he is, on the rock at all. So, all right. So we'll start back to front again. Levi is clearly afraid of me. He's picking the Noles. Garrett.
Tomahawk chop.
Thank you, buddy. You're still in good graces.
There we go.
Jack. Who does Pierre have? Pierre, who you got?
Okay. This was the game where I thought I'd be sporting with Jack. I assumed Jack would go with Florida State, so I am willing to go Louisville in this game. I'll go Louisville.
You are dead to me. Jack, there you go. Florida State. So this one could get weird. I, of course, am picking my beloved Florida State Seminoles. And I will just say this about this game. Can Florida State lose it? Absolutely. Can Jeff Brom coach? Absolutely. Is Jawar Jordan a problem for the FSU defense that can get a little aggressive and leave running lanes open? Absolutely. Am I afraid of Jack Plummer?
No.
Absolutely not. That is where I think the rubber meets the road, in that the quarterbacks who have made big plays against Florida State this year, and there's not a whole lot of them, right? But when it happened against Clemson, against LSU, against Duke, even though he was hurt, and against Boston College, and even against Florida, those quarterbacks were all very mobile and dual threat guys. That is not Jack Plummer. He is the bus driver's bus driver, and he's done a great job of doing that. But I don't see him getting away from Jared Verse and Kalen DeLoach and Derek Farmer and Braden Fisk and all the guys he's going to have coming at him all night long. So while, yes, they might be able to hit some big runs and keep this thing close, and Rodemaker might be a little bit dicey, he's still surrounded by some playmakers. I think FSU gets this done. If style points matter, that's probably not going to be good for them. But I think because it's not Florida and he's got that start under his belt, that Tate Rodemaker will play a little bit smoother, get some more playmakers other than Johnny Wilson involved, and FSU will ultimately win this game. Although, if any FSU fans out there or anyone's expecting Florida State to Rodemaker to just finally find his, sea legs and be Jordan Travis number 2, and this is going to be a big win, that's not going to happen. That's not really how this team rolls. But I think FSU wins because they have more talent everywhere else. And I still think when it comes down to it, Rodemaker and Plummer are about the same guy. So, I'll take the guy with the more talent and the better and the more playmakers on defense on the other side. That is a little bit biased, but I do think it comes from a place of extreme knowledge. So I'll leave it at that. I'll let you assess my assessment of that game.
I mean, I don't really know what else I really can add to that, because I think you just said the whole thing. My only question was Jack going to pick Louisville all along? That was my question.
Were you going to pick? Would you have picked Louisville?
I came in today fully prepared to pick Louisville.
He came in fully prepared to pick Louisville.
Okay, interesting. I had a feeling. But since he picked Washington, listen, I'm game. I'm not scared.
Yeah,
I'm not scared to play it safe. Let's go. I've been playing with house money all year long. I feel like with this pick and pool. So
yeah,
let's rock and roll.
Look, if either of you go 5-0, it's going to be
In all seriousness, though, does anyone believe that Iowa is going to score more than 7 on Michigan? Anyone?
No. The only way they score 7 is if it's 2 field goals and a safety, or there's some sort of
there's a turnover.
Score.
Yeah, there's a deep turnover deep in Michigan's red zone. Yeah,
I mean,
that's why even when the line came out for Michigan, when it opened, I think it opened at 23. I said, listen, I was like, I know Iowa's got a great defense, but I feel like this game is going to be an absolute massacre.
Yeah,
in the Big Ten championship. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Pierre, how do you feel about the Big Ten West ending on Saturday night? Because it'll be over as soon as the game's over. The Big Ten West is over.
I can't believe I can't believe I'm going to reference a Taylor Swift song, but I'm looking at them now saying, "You're on your own, kid." And then you're on. That's how I feel looking at the Big Ten West. You're on your own now, guys. I mean, it's up to you to figure out a way.
I know she went through Minneapolis on the Eras tour.
So
I would. I'll tell you this: if invited, I would go.
Yeah,
I would go.
I'm not going to pay for it though.
No, it's way too much. This
isn't Metallica we're talking about.
No.
So.
But I respect the game of Taylor Swift. I respect the game. Yeah, she's like single-handedly keeping the American economy afloat. So, I mean,
I think there's a part of me that wants to say, like, if you're just a hater, like a serious hater of Taylor Swift, I think you're just being a hater just to be a hater. Like, you don't have to like her music, but I don't see anybody who would be like, I got a real problem with this Taylor Swift broad, like
just Kanye. Just Kanye. And listen, likes Taylor, hates Taylor, loves Hitler. So I think you know where he lands on that. So
good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're in the group, like, you know what, Kanye West is right, you may need to assess what.
Yes. An excellent point. I think Kanye thinks Iowa's going to win on Saturday. So it's like that's all that. Right.
I would just love him to see Jim Harbaugh. I'm gonna let you finish, but Kirk Ferentz is the greatest coach of all time.
That's right. That's what I want to see on Saturday. That's for sure.
No, I do think if Kirk Ferentz pulls this off, he's gonna have to we're gonna have to strap him in, lie detector, and how did you do it? How did you find? Because they're not their starting quarterback's not playing. Cade McNamara is not playing.
Right.
He's not been playing for weeks and weeks and weeks now. And they've still been winning with this backup quarterback, but that's really more about their opponents than it is about them. And even though the defense is fantastic, when their starting quarterback did play against Penn State, one of the only other good teams on their schedule, they lost 31-0.
Correct. And that's I think where this game is going to go sideways, because you can play that style of football and beat the Nebraskas and the Rutgers and the Minnesotas of the world, but up against this year's Michigan team, the best you can pray for is to survive, and you're trying to survive, and I don't think you're going to be able to survive.
Yeah, Kirk Ferentz is the last remaining representative of the college football gods to smite Michigan out of it, and it's not they rolled out their 2 best shots at James Franklin and Ryan Day, and then I was that's the best way. This is all we got left. Maybe one of the other elite coaches will beat them, but here you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Yeah. I mean,
Coach Biden here. Let's roll it out.
Yeah. Like we said, if Iowa gets to double-digit points, if they even get to 10 in this game, I think it's a victory on its own for Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah, absolutely. He should be guys, what a stellar offensive performance.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, you know what? I hope we get the loser of the Pac-12 championship in the bowl game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I think if we score 10 against Michigan, then we can score at least 12 against Washington. So
I agree. That's the speech I want to be in there for.
Yeah. Other than guys, brush your teeth. Good job. Make sure you're in by midnight. Do your studies, your arithmetic, and all that stuff.
Your studies.
Get to chapel in the morning.
Yep, that's very important.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make sure your bed's made. Those are the post-game speeches I think I hear from Kirk Ferentz.
Sounds about right to me.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
One of you guys is coming by to mow my lawn. Check the sign-up sheet to see who it is. All right, Pierre, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, coming up on 365 Sports, it's just be me and Craig today, but we've got Angelique Shingelis from the Detroit Free Press to talk about that Michigan-Iowa game. We'll have Cole Kubelik of the SEC Network, Max Olson of The Athletic, Taylor McHargue will join us as well, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, and Jake Spath, Hall News. That's all coming up in an hour right here on 365 Sports. Have a great weekend, everybody.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused